The Garnet and Old Show members only stream. I just remembered to go in and actually make it members only in YouTube. You always have to do that manually. Man, getting off a hot start, but I really am excited about this topic because it's completely non-Florida State football related. Not Florida State related at all, but it's something that I think, based on your, the way our brains work, I am infinitely interested in this stuff.
I am too. But before there's a couple things, Ryan, before we jump into this. And I shouldn't have worn any gear tonight. But so, first thing is, are you in your bedroom? And then, second thing is, did you see the new Pop Tarts bowl?
I did.
Trophy?
Yes. First, this is the room I always in. Actually, that's a little daybed behind me. I just didn't drag my screen in. However, I have an even cooler idea to make that background screen even better. I'm going to combine what I've already done with the Govee curtain. I don't know if you've seen the Govee curtain, and I'm going to put the Spear logo
in the curtain.
In the curtain and put that directly behind me.
Love it. That's a great idea, Ryan.
I'm in the progress of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you're gonna spend, I know somebody did a tweet about this, but if you're gonna spend $20 million on a toaster, man, you got the best one. But of course, you have to win the game.
Man, that toaster though, the second I saw the unveiling, I was so happy.
Yes.
For two reasons. One, because it's awesome. The toast.
Yeah, it is awesome.
What Pop-Tarts has done with their brand in the bowl games, easily the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's the mayo bowl.
Yeah,
was kind of clunky, and somebody getting doused in mayo is kind of gross and all that. But and that's fine, and they've done a good job with that. But the Pop-Tarts one, they are all about it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, them sending the Pop-Tart into the oven last year was great, and then actual Pop-Tarts coming out for them to eat. Now, with this trophy being a real working, toaster oven, what made me the second part, I said, remember, two things make me happy, is that's the greatest trophy that Miami will be able to hold this year. Plain and simple.
They have to win it. They have to win.
Yeah, but that's their best shot right now is the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I love some Pop-Tarts. Brown sugar cinnamon is probably my favorite.
I got a very picky favorite. S'mores for me.
When they unwrapped it with the typical Pop-Tart foil, that's pretty strong branding. They're just doing a great job. And the Cheez-Its, the Cheez-It Bowl was also great branding. I mean, they're still showing that commercial. I woke up feeling the cheesiest, Coach.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great branding.
There's only one commercial that's better than that one right now, and that's the Fumble Rooski Andy Reid commercial. Every time I see it,
right,
I laugh because how they got him to make himself look like such a fool is beyond me. But we're here to talk about something completely different with our members only. Now, Vince, I would like to, in a week, release this video to the entire Garnet and Old audience. But for now, make it a members only exclusive because that's what we do.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. And it might be about time to release it right about that time.
Yes. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, non-Florida State topic. And it's fun to do this sometimes because, listen, the season's done.
Yeah.
The portal thing, all that stuff is still ongoing, and we save any news for that coming up on the Garnet and Old Show normally at 7 o'clock on Thursday. So we want to have a little fun with this one, the drone stuff. So we've talked about it on Garnet and Old this past Thursday. I'm going to change my theory a little bit based on recent findings.
Okay. Before you dive deep, though, Ryan, not only did we have a 10-minute chat about it at the end of the show, I've gotten multiple text messages and people chiming in with me about, first of all, how much they enjoyed that. which is funny. But also people like, yeah, yeah, like they're all about it.
Hmm.
So I think that this is a great opportunity for us to dive a bit deeper into the nether regions of the drone life.
Yes, and TikTok has captured me with drone stories, coverage, and conspiracy theories. So TikTok, the second it noticed that I was really watching a lot of drone related footage, it immediately said he wants it and he wants it bad, and I do, and it hasn't gotten old yet.
No,
So the most current prevailing theory that I actually think is most likely and most scary is that they are using these drones, the US government, it's there are drones, and they're looking for something.
I brought this up on the show.
Specifically, traces of a dirty bomb or some kind of nuclear signatures, radiation, gamma.
Yes.
And the reason why this does make the most sense now that I've kind of read up on it is because that would explain why they will not tell us why they're acting like yeah, we're not sure what they are, while saying but they're no danger to anyone and we're not taking any action against them, is because the one thing that you would probably say the government is actually morally justified in not stating is, yeah, we're looking for a potential dirty bomb, and that's why the drones are there, because that would, in those cities that the drones are located in predominantly, if they said something to that effect officially, it would cause mass evacuation. In fact, if I was living in New Jersey and the federal government came out and said, "Yeah, we had intel that there was some kind of potential nuclear dirty bomb that was snuck in, and we had some credible intel that it could have been in this general area." Yeah, I would be telling my family, "I think we're going to get out of town," and I'm sure that they don't want that to happen. So that's where my mind is at now, because before I was on the what the hell, like just tell us, quit acting like we're children. Nothing you're going to say is going to surprise us at this point in life. We've all seen so much. But that would be something that would incite panic.
So during the show on Thursday, when I was saying they're looking for something, this is what I was referring to. I had been following that rabbit hole for a day or two,
Mhm.
but I didn't. Just people talking about it gets the word out that that could be a possibility. So
Mhm.
I didn't want to stir it up, but on the members only show, we'll do that. That is Ryan. That is exactly what I was referring to during the show. And you are right. In that instance, if they don't know that there's a problem, why say that there might be a problem when they could turn out that it'd be nothing, and then they have caused a basically a cluster mess,
Yeah.
because people are going to immediately try to evacuate, and
Mhm.
they should, if that were the case. But I started going down a rabbit hole of seeing things about, hey, these drones are coming in, and they're flying in grid patterns, like they're
Yeah.
hovering in like a search formation,
Low altitude.
and they have the capability, because there's another rabbit hole I went down about the drone, specific drones that are housing technology that can sniff out radioactive signatures, and different kinds of what's the term,
Yeah.
emissions,
Yeah. Yeah. Fuel.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so that, you know, again, who knows? But that's, if they're searching for something and they're not telling us why, that would be a pretty predominant like reason. Because if it is something, or I'm sorry, if the thing they're looking for would be so significant that it would cause a problem in terms of mobilization of people, they don't want to do that unless they're absolutely sure.
Yes. Now the downside to that is if they are looking for something and it is credible and there is something and they never bring it up and such thing a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions happen, millions would die and the government would be left saying if you knew about this, you should have evacuated. So there's two sides of the coin. However, I'm going to say that just based on previous history on looking at what the government reacts to is they're going to say either it's potentially credible but we're not sure, or um, we don't think they're going to activate it. It's just more of a threat posture kind of thing. Um,
It
or
doesn't matter though, right?
yes,
Because as soon as they mention the word
bomb.
bomb
Mhm.
or nuclear, it doesn't matter if it's legit, activated or not activated. It
Yep.
doesn't matter.
Hmm.
People, and rightly so, hey, let's face it, there's a lot of distrust in the government. And you could say, well, there's always been distrust in the government. And I think you're probably right about that. But in the last, 20 years,
Hmm.
that has, exponentially grown, in my opinion, mostly because of all of our connectedness and for the ability for some random schmo
Yeah.
to all of a sudden become an expert in something
Yeah.
when they're really not. Um, so they already distrust, and the fact that you know all of these all of these all these vehicles are patrolling the skies, or at least traversing the skies, and there's been no real, like, I don't want to say care, but you would think that if there were devices that the government didn't know about that
Mhm.
were literally over US airspace, it would be much more important
Yeah.
than what they're presenting.
Yeah. They're almost manufacturing calm is
Yeah,
what it feels like. It's the Leslie Nielsen, nothing to see here with the building,
right.
and this is the only situation in which I would give the government a break and not and like what because you say okay, what are the alternatives? How could they handle this in any better way? Okay, you can't just say hey, there's a dirty bomb. You could, I guess, say something like where we are testing um, drones for to protect the American people from potential future terrorist activity. It's a test. You could say something, but still, that would incur a lot of like why and then people would go down the whole like that's against privacy laws and you can't do that and freedom and it would start a whole nother mess, which I think it's going to happen anyways because if this is happening right now and there is a potential for an actual dirty bomb, which is a very very serious topic in the middle of a presidential transition of any kind, especially this one, any move that the government makes now or after the transition is going to be even more chaotic how either side reacts. So if either side goes one way or the other too far, the other side will be like, "What you guys are handling it wrong. You're doing, that kind of thing." So, I mean, you already saw. I won't mention. I don't like to get too deep into politics as a whole, but you already saw our future president tweet out on True Social, like, I'd shoot it down right now when he probably doesn't have the intel of what's actually happening. But the good news is that's just True Social. That's not real life. That's just a man with a keyboard and a Diet Coke.
Yeah, he's no different than you or I in that scenario,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So here's
Yes.
my thing, Vince. One last point on this. Uh, I've always been a fan of conspiracy theories. Never a big like I am 100% like I'm the guy. I'm not the guy that's like every one of these is true. But I have fun with them. Does that make sense? So
Sure.
every conspiracy I've ever heard, even if I think like there's absolutely no that's dumb, I'll still read all the stuff and I'll still watch the videos because I'm like, this is just good fun. Some people take it very seriously and go down, and that's why I did the whole Alex Jones thing. In fact, he did a live stream tonight, breaking
That's,
news.
yeah.
Maybe that character will come back one day. I don't know. We'll see. Um, but with conspiracies are only a thing because some conspiracies do turn out to be real. Like JFK, I'm fully believing that should everything transition power wise and nothing crazy happens from now until inauguration day, I fully believe that Robert Kennedy Jr., whether you like him or not, is gonna get them files released about his about JFK. Some conspiracies are real. Bay of Pigs didn't happen. Okay. Like these are all verifiable facts. However, 98% of the conspiracies are nonsense. 9/11 was not a planned event, guys. I hate to tell you. The world is not flat. I hate to tell you. Uh, Hurricanes don't happen for companies to sell generators, as one of our friends once stated. Um, but isn't this fun?
It is fun, and when you say about conspiracies, I'll watch them on the History Channel or whatever.
Mhm,
Uh, I was very in tune with the JFK thing
mhm.
for a long time. Matter of fact, I just saw another documentary on that about 2 weeks ago that really
Yeah,
piqued the brain.
you're
But
gonna find out the truth very soon, probably.
so the thing about conspiracies, like you said, and I don't necessarily say that some of them are true. I would say that there tends to be a morsel at least that's true. So whatever it is that
Mhm.
sparks the conspiracy. Now sometimes they go overboard, a lot of the time,
Yep.
but a lot of the time there tends to be a reasonable piece of it that you're like, oh, well, that's why people started, you know, thinking this. I also enjoy learning about them because it allows me to have very fun conversations with people.
Yeah.
And, whether it's people that believe that the earth is flat, or, what have you,
Yeah.
it allows me to, I don't want to say poke fun at people. That's not the right, but with people that I'm close to that may or may not have
Yeah.
a conspiracy mindset, it allows me to have a little fun with that
Yeah.
with them because I know about it.
Usually with a drink or two, it's even more fun.
Right, right, right. So the JFK thing, the if we're going to get off the drones here just for 1 second.
Yeah, this is a conspiracies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the JFK thing. The most recent thing I saw on that was about. It was actually a book that was written quite a long time ago that did not. Just kind of fell by the wayside. I can't remember the name of it, but the premise is that the CIA killed him,
Mhm.
but not in the way that people necessarily presume when say the CIA killed the president. They think it's like a nefarious thing. There's quite a bit of information in that documentary about a CIA member
Yeah.
that was put in a position in the trailing car, um, that he wouldn't normally be in. He didn't have the experience to do that, but he had to do it because a number of the guys were ill or were up all night drinking or whatever. And when Lee Harvey took the shot, that guy stood up. He had an AK, stood up to take aim to to shoot at Lee Harvey or whoever. But as he was doing that, that trailing car sped up and it threw him back and he fired off a round that killed the president.
Right. So again, we're going back to plot to nuggets of truth. The conspiracy being a lot of people have is that the CIA intentionally
Right.
killed JFK, when the truth could be the CIA killed JFK, but it could have been
It could have been an accident.
a tragic accident.
And because, you know, for some reason, and I get it, I guess, for some reason, the government thinks that the nation as a whole can't handle the information, the true information.
Mm-hmm.
They have to make crap up.
Yeah.
If you imagine like the CIA having to basically say, yeah, it was one of our guys. Yeah, that sucks that you have to say that,
Yeah.
right? It does. If that's what happened, that sucks that you have to say that. And you have to own that. And you have to, basically be the villain
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of years.
Yeah.
But instead, if that's what happened, they've covered up and they've actually made it,
Worse.
they've actually made generations of people even more skeptical about the government because they
Yeah.
weren't able to come out with the truth.
Well, the crazy thing is, did you watch not the whole thing, but certain clips of Rogan interviewing Trump?
I saw brief little clips of that.
So there's a 10-minute segment in there where Rogan asks him, "Hey, in your first term, you promised to release the JFK files, and then you didn't do it. And at the time when you were asked why you didn't, you said because if you knew what I knew, you wouldn't do it either." I want to ask you a question because now with Robert Kennedy, and the one thing I like about Rogan is he will ask you the most uncomfortable questions that if you were had handlers, they would be like, no. He was like, with Robert Kennedy, you say you're going to release it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to release it for him. Okay. Was it just your decision? You just didn't release him the first time, or what happened there? And he said specifically, I wanted to release them. I read it, and I had two or three senior officials in my cabinet at the time who says you shouldn't do this in the interest of the nation. And I asked, what do you mean? And they said because people involved in this, not just what happened, but also the story, are still alive. And you don't want to ruin these people's lives potentially. And he said, at the time, I said, that makes sense. We don't want that. But with Robert here, I've promised him he's going to have access to it and he can do what he wants with it. So to me, that came off as very genuine answer and I could see that happening. And let's say your potential theory is true, where it was an accidental death. The Even though that's a terrible thing to accidentally shoot a president, um, it's not worse than lying about it. The lying about it's the worst part. And if there are 3 or 4 senior or retired CIA officials who, if the report came out, says they directly lied, they knew that they were lying, those people would probably be on Capitol Hill having to give testimony. I mean, it would be those people would be tried by certain, not maybe everyone in the Senate, judiciary committees and all that stuff, but someone would be
Yeah,
like, "Hey, we need to hold these people accountable. This is the deep state," that kind of thing. And that's why, although he tends to say a lot of nonsense too, I actually can totally see what Trump's saying being what actually happened.
possibly, and we can equate that to Jimmy Carter here in a minute.
Hmm.
But yes, if it were to come out, people's lives that were involved with that, with the cover up,
Hmm.
would be, they would have to deal with the consequences of that. I don't know what those consequences would be because how many years ago was that?
Yeah, but there would be hearings at minimum.
Well, there would be hearings and people's and those particular people's lives would be in upheaval a bit, but and I would I feel bad for them? It's the choice they made.
Yeah.
Like it or not, JFK was the president of the United States, which means he was everyone's president. And there were people that, pin their hopes and dreams on what he was about and what he stood for. And there were people that didn't like him. I mean, it's probably not as
Yeah.
divisive as it is these days, but ultimately, the American people, the
Hmm.
population, deserves to know what happened to the person they elected. They
Yeah.
deserve to know that. And if that means some crusty old guys
Hmm.
have to sit through some hearings, some uncomfortable hearings, so be it. I think it's been long enough,
Yeah.
right? I think it's been long enough. And so if you have a family member now, and most of that family probably uh, doesn't care too much for him,
Yeah.
but he is a family member. So if he's like, yeah, we're going to do this, then what would Trump have to say about that?
Yeah.
If you have a
Especially
family
he's
thing.
made such a big deal about it too. At all the, so it's like it's not that like he said at one time in an interview that maybe he would. He's basically promised and said, "I'm doing it for Bobby Kennedy." Like, so there's not. It would be hard to back away from it. Is my point.
So okay? So let me ask you this: what's the point of continuing to keep up the charade?
I think there are certain people. It's funny because you always hear the term deep state. I don't think it's as well organized or as scary or dark as certain people in the conspiracy sphere like to make it sound like. However, if I give you my definition of the deep state, quote unquote, it would be career um, political people in high positions of power that want to continue keeping that level of power without consequence or supervision. You see this in the UAP um, task force in hearings where it's like, yeah, we'll answer this part of it. Were they of this? Or were they? Have you ever? Was any of our tech or any of our adversaries? No. Do you have any of the bodies or recovered crash? And they're like, I can talk about that in a private session. I can't talk about it here. I think it's that type of thing that senior officials. It's not just about the JFK. It's about we don't want to have to answer to anyone at any time unless we feel like it. So I don't think it's about keeping up the charade. I think it's about business as usual for a certain high up group of people. But I don't think it's as organized as people think it is. I think it's a few people where if it is under their jurisdiction of decision making and they are been there a long time and they have a lot to lose if the trust in that institution were to be eroded with something like this coming out, I think those are the people that are holding the keys.
There's definitely a lot of control freaks in the government, and for people that believe that the president has the keys to everything, I don't believe that's true. I think the
Mhm.
president you know, is the president kind of high up in that chain? Of course, but not the complete gatekeeper of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but what's interesting about the quote unquote deep state thing is that it's kind of a double edged sword there, because the deep state is really what's been keeping the secret.
Hmm.
So if you tell the truth, then do you start providing some opportunity for there'll be initial backlash for sure, but do you start offering up some honesty where you can start building back some trust? And by the way, the people that were around that made all those decisions,
Most of them are dead.
99.9% of them are dead and gone.
Hmm.
Now, the people that have held on to it for sure might still be around,
Yeah.
but people that actually made the decisions about that, you know, they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
So so let's equate that back to the drones real quick.
Yeah. Um, This reminds me, real quick before we go back to the drones, what you just said about the president not having the keys, all the keys.
Mhm.
I'll sum it up with what I think is the greatest representation of that very fact ever, which was in the movie Independence Day.
I was gonna.
When
Independence Day. Yeah, yeah.
when the president himself is saying there's no spaceship, there's no recovered craft, there is no Area 51, and the guy saying that's not entirely accurate. And when asked, he
Right.
says it's plausible deniability. It was on a need to know basis. I believe things like that do exist, not maybe to the aliens and all that stuff, but to other programs. I think the president can ask, but I don't think if he doesn't need to know, I don't think they have to provide the answers.
Well,
So
yeah, and it keeps the president obviously safe from other
plausible deniability.
right, but some other avenues for manipulation and things like that.
Yes,
But in that movie, let's just take that movie. You think they would have brought it up as soon as the crafts arrived,
you
right?
would hope. Yeah, you would have hoped. But this does
But
remind me. Don't forget, Vince, one of the highest ranking people that's ever been on this train of wanting disclosure, Harry Reid, Senator Harry Reid. He said he did his darndest to try to get information and was shut down at every. And that, I mean, it's not the president, but what was he in Bill Clinton's cabinet? And
God,
then I think he was like secretary of like he was a very very high up official, and they were like, that's not something you need to know.
if you dreamed at all in your life that senators and representatives have any kind of power at all, look at what's happening with the drones.
Yeah, they have
They have
nothing.
no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
They are angry about it,
Hmm.
but they can't get anywhere with that.
Yeah. I
They
mean, you have
can't.
the mayor of New Jersey, and then one of the drones actually shut down air traffic for an hour,
Yeah.
and they're like, this is enough. Well, you're just shouting in the sky, this is enough. But
Yeah.
you can have the hearings and they ask the FPS, so you really don't know what these are, and they're like,
Here's the other thing too. So if the government did not know what these were, do you think the FAA would continue their regular flight schedules?
no, they would shut down the airspace. It would be
They would
9/11 style.
it would.
Mm.
So the government basically let the FAA know, or the FAA part of the government,
They didn't let them know what was happening. They just let them know it's fine.
said, hey, you have nothing to worry about here. Keep on keeping on. That's all they needed to say.
It's like a wink, like it's fine. Um,
So in Independence Day, great movie. Also, National Treasure 2, Book of
oh yeah,
Secrets.
yeah, getting the president alone.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, so Jimmy Carter. Let's talk about Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, this is more in your realm.
This is a story that's been out there for a long time that Jimmy Carter at one point as president was briefed on the uh, the
Roswell.
UFO UAP
Yeah,
non-human intelligence thing. And the story goes that when he got all the information, he broke down and cried.
which is pretty crazy to hear that.
Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
It's believable.
That's the story. That's the story that's out there. And what people read into that is that because Jimmy Carter is a very devout Christian man, that that shook his belief. That's the interpretation of that story. Now, whether that actually happened or not,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You could take it another way too. Are you familiar with Tucker Carlson's theory?
I am not familiar with Tucker Carlson's theory. No.
So I think I don't care for the guy personally. I think he's kind of whatever you think of
Yeah.
former news station people that people look to for answers. He was a personality. That's all he was. But
Correct.
one of his theories was interesting to me. And that is, and it would actually go back to what you said about Jimmy Carter. What if aliens are really dimensional beings, which in historical terms have been termed angels or demons?
Sure.
Um, Others might consider them interdimensional beings or celestial beings. Some
Mhm.
might call them, um, you know, the Greys or the, whatever it is. What I like about that theory is it would tie all things together without canceling out science or religion. Because what science could say is the multiverse with these interdimensional beings that are able to transverse these multi universes and different different planes of view that we can't perceive. Others in biblical times could call, hey, these guys were evil, deep demonic. These guys were angels and like saved us, and chariots of fire in the sky and things like that that are in the Bible, drones in the sky, all
Wheel.
of that, yeah, all that could be one and the same thing. And I can imagine a man like Jimmy Carter, who, devout Christian, where that would not shake his maybe his beliefs, but just be so shocking that we are aware that these things are actual, like we've seen them or have recovered some of them, that it was so overwhelming to him to have real confirmation of what his beliefs were, that would also be a very intense moment. So it's one of my favorite theories about UFOs is that we now know scientifically through theory alone, not through practice but through theory, provable mathematics, that the multiverse is a real concept. We've all seen all the Marvel movies. It's a lot of it's taking it and having fun with it, but the general theory of multiple timelines at the same time and people that can come in between as they choose. Wouldn't that be incredible and fun? And what's crazy is it wouldn't discredit the Bible at all.
No, and if you're going to take it, well, it depends. It depends on the way you interpret it, right? Because if you think about the Jimmy Carter thing, maybe it doesn't shake his beliefs so much. Is that it completely opens up a whole nother um, amazement, astonishment, uh, awe of a creator,
Yeah,
right? It doesn't have to be, in my opinion, it doesn't have to be that if quote unquote aliens exist, that negates, you know, God,
yeah.
ultimate creator. So it could be that, that totally wrecked him. If again, if that story is true. Um, so so it's an interesting theory, and or an interesting possibility, I should say, not really a theory. Um, if they are interdimensional beings and they're able to, so time is not as restrictive as what we imagine it to be.
Hmm.
Um, then yeah, again, if we're going to take this all the way through, then yeah, what people saw and recorded and testified about, you know, 3,000 years ago could be the same thing that people are seeing nowadays. Um,
Because everyone has a phone.
right, and more people would be able to see it, and you cannot then, well, I was gonna say you can't then say that it's fake or fabricated, but actually you could say that because artificial intelligence and the generation of imagery is getting crazily good.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not so sure. that so let's take it a step further, Ryan.
Mm.
Let's say that it's absolutely the case. What is it that the government thinks is the reason for not starting to let people know about this?
They've been told explicitly by these beings, one side or the other, not to. And here's the reason why. And if you do, there will be mass consequences. And the interesting thing is, you could be like, okay, interesting. What side told them that? If you are a biblical person, the demonic side, the angelic side, or is there a multiplanetary, multiple different types of beings federation that says, listen, we want to bring you in, but we have to do it slow, and we have to get you caught up, and we have to trickle you guys are expert. And a lot of my favorite part about that theory, about like the introducing you into our sphere, but it has to be slower, so there's not this mass switch, is the seemingly and conveniently rapid uh, increase in technology in a very short period of time. From 25 years ago, Vince, us
Mm.
having phones the size of a briefcase that could only make calls from very certain locations, to we have AI in our pockets. Um, that's a very short span, even though it's a long time for us. But for if you are an interplanetary, multiple thousand year civilization, you would think that's a blink of an eye. And the slow disclosure of information through hearings and
Mm-hmm.
reports, it's an introduction to us. It's a slow draw into welcoming you into the fray. And to me, that's the most potentially exciting thing, because I would love to be alive when I the first time we know. Like, I really hope I am. I want to be alive, even if it means, and this gets real dark. If tomorrow we found out for a fact, because they landed on the White House lawn, right? These things are real. And the next day they destroyed everything, including me. When I Seconds before I saw the explosion heading towards me, or whatever it is,
You'd be
I would
like,
be like, "Well, son of a bitch, what a way to go." Like, I'm scared. This sucks. Goodbye, but aliens are real and they're killing us. This is a movie.
the drones over the White House or over to the Capitol. Again, I saw some videos of that.
Hmm.
Whether they're doctored or not, I don't know. But if that actually happened, here's another great example of the government owns those drones. There is no way that they're going to let unknown craft over the Capitol. It's
Yeah.
just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Um, yeah, knowing would be. I mean, think about what does it change if we were to know. Hold on, let me back up real quick. When you were talking about, you know, which ones are they? There's a whole line of thought. Again, rabbit hole I went down a little bit about, there are evil factions and there are benevolent factions that are messing with Earth.
Hmm.
So again, you go back to the angels and demons thing, right? But if you if you were going to know, if you did know, let's just say it wasn't, an explosion and it's Independence Day and, Will Smith doesn't have to save us. What does that change?
For just to me,
Yeah. We'll start with just with you, but then we'll
yeah.
talk in general.
For me, it would put a perspective. where I would say something that millions over a long period of time have dreamt about, wondered about, looked up at the sky at. How crazy it is that I know, and they like all those generations and people don't. And to know that as special and as cool as we are, man, there's other really cool stuff out there. And how cool is that? Because I love space. I love the idea of space travel. And just in our lifetime, Vince, we have gotten to see, like I said, the rapid increase in technology. In which, if you had told yourself, if you had gone, you Vince, right now, in your hat and everything, you went back to 1993 Vince, and you're like, here, let me show you this iPhone,
I have that hat up there, actually.
and this iPhone, and I charge it here wirelessly on this pad. And oh, by the way, we have self-driving cars and rockets that land and take off. We don't need like no more space shuttle. And you started describing the technology. You would either pass out or you would say BS, like who is this guy lying to me? Because you wouldn't believe it. So I believe technology is exponentially growing. And with AI, it's going to exponentially beyond what we can even understand. I really believe AI is exponentially going to change the world more than the internet did in the late 90s. Because once the AI, and there's a lot of different definitions of general intelligence, AGI, but once it's able to improve itself and introduce new concepts and new theories and new technologies and say, oh, okay, you guys haven't solved time travel or this going at this speed and this kind of craft because of this math equation. Well, I just solved it in 10. Think, I just think about how many times I use Chat GPT in a day during the workday to help me do things like, man, I don't want to work 2 hours on this spreadsheet. I'm going to upload this spreadsheet and I'm going to say, I want this, but give me these tables and this summary and this in an executive summary report that I'm going to have to. And listen, there's always things that I then have to go in and edit and search and no, I don't like that. Get rid of that. But it's incredible. And so to sum it up, to know that there would be aliens or we were being introduced to a multiplanetary species means that we would probably live in the most unique timeline that any human has ever lived.
If it's yeah, if it's do you watch Star Trek?
Yeah, I've seen my favorite one, Next Generation. So yeah,
Okay, so I was introduced to the original series. My dad watched it, and I watched it with him when I was younger. But I've gone through and watched pretty much all the series. I wasn't a big Deep Space Nine fan, but
I like the movies too.
and there are some people that think Deep Space Nine is the best of them all. But the uh, the Enterprise series is interesting because of it's like it's the concept of Earth getting its first shot to be out and about in the galaxy,
Hmm.
and how the other species are almost like you you guys got to be careful out here, and I think especially when you look at it from the United States standpoint, America standpoint, it is like cowboy, like we're like cowboys, man.
Hmm.
So I think that if it was disclosed at some point or revealed or whatever the term is, um, there would be there would be this want from the masses of give us all the technology that you have, but that's not good.
You're
Right?
not ready for that.
And so that to me you know would be exciting because I like technology and I'm impressed by the way things are progressing. And by the way, in 93, if you would have asked me about a phone in my hand, I would have said, yeah, it's going to happen. Um, just because I kind of, I'm saying knew that would happen, but I understood the way technology evolves. Um, it would be very, it would be a dangerous time because you would have a lot of differing opinions, first of all, but also differing philosophies and nations and the way they view things, all clamoring. They would still be in this mindset of we have to be better than you
Yeah.
because you know we've always been in this adversarial life for everything that we've known.
Yeah.
But when you start throwing that kind of new technology, whatever it would be, there's going to be a lot of even more so. We need to get that before they get it. We need to get
Yeah.
that before they get it, and that in and of itself may be, if there is a possibility that this was true,
Yeah.
that would be a reason
Hmm.
that the non-human intelligence or whoever, whatever you want to call it, would be like, yeah, he's not
There's
ready.
a perfect example of this too, Vince.
Yeah.
This is a theory I believe. Now, I've told you I believe that there are aliens and that we have been visited. Um, my favorite story is the proliferation of them being showing up when we discovered nuclear bombs. And the reason that's my favorite story, if any of you UFO people like to go back, is because it went from like 0 to 100 of like no one ever saw these things, and then wow, they're everywhere the second we drop the bomb. And what I like to think is that just like we are theorizing that we're hey hunting or searching for something with these drones looking for gamma techno, that I imagine it would be like us having a zoo, let's say the Jacksonville Zoo, Vince, right, with the monkey tank, and we're like, oh, look at those monkeys over there. We're gonna let them just hang out, right? They're just hanging out over there. That's cute. We go visit sometimes, but they don't even know what we are. It's just it's just monkeys. It's all right. And then if we were like in the distance, heard gunfire, and you'd be like, what the hell is that? The monkeys have guns. Where did they made a gun?
Planet of the Apes.
Okay, now you know what, Vince, you and you and you, we need to have like a rotational security. We need to keep them from harming themselves. So what we need to do is present ourselves to the monkeys in whatever primal way we can and say, "Hey, listen, um, you can't tell anyone about us. Don't tell your monkey friends about us. Stop what you're doing with those nukes, or guns in this case. And we know it's exciting, but these have a lot more power than you think they do, and they could literally kill all of you. So stop. Don't tell anyone we're here. We're not here to mess with you. We're not here to interrupt. You're not ready for that. But stop with the nonsense." And I think the most interesting thing that we've seen post World War II, Vince, is that since we dropped the bombs, not a single nuclear attack.
Mm.
And if you think of the kind of conflicts we've had nonstop, it seems so far fetched and unlikely that not one crazed rogue dictator, foreign person, whatever that hated America. Look, there's people in other countries that think, if you kill someone, you go to heaven and have virgin. Like, there are those that believe that, an extremist view. To think that no one has used nuclear weapons against each other says two things. We've been told not to, but even if we tried, they wouldn't work and they would deactivate them at the site. Because there have been sightings and reports in disclosure documents that are half blacked out of at nuclear bases a craft being spotted and them like literally all the equipment turning off. And I think that's their way of saying you're cute, look at that, great, you discovered nukes, don't use them, and we're going to stop you from using them. So That's my favorite, absolute favorite conspiracy theory is that these beings are here to protect us from ourselves and our worst instincts while being like, okay, they're smart enough now, they have nukes and they have all this science and technology. And I like to think that there was some kind of meeting, intergalactic meeting, where they were like, it's time for us to welcome them in as infants into the multiplanetary species. So we need to transition them into this. That's my opinion.
Well, it was either going to be them that stopped the rogue nuke bomb or Tom Cruise.
Yep.
So it would be one of the two.
The second part
Um,
this summer.
yeah. I would ask you then, why didn't they stop the first ones we dropped?
My answer was that they were not even
They weren't
caring or
paying
paying,
attention.
and then they saw, oh, nuclear signature 20 million light years away. What the hell went up? What the hell?
So let's take the zoo thing. So are we the zoo?
Yeah,
We're the zoo.
yeah,
Um, I mean, it could be that we're not as intelligent as we think we
yeah.
are.
We're very basic. They're like, oh, look how cute.
Yeah. Speaking of basic, I mean, we get upset about football games,
Yeah.
so that's pretty basic. Um, no, I mean, it's a good a theory as any that's out there right now, and there have been people that have held high levels within the government that invariably you could look at their record and there's nothing on it that says that this guy is a kook or is just wanting to get attention or publicity or make money on it, that have testified under oath that these things are real.
Hmm.
And you know why do that if it's not, unless that's part of the deep state mentality is like, hey, we're going to talk about this over here, so it distracts you because of what's going on over here. So it's like we never know which
Yeah.
way to look, because the thing everybody, not everybody, but the thing a lot of people want to know is they want some kind of proof of whatever it is that they have believed or whatever.
My favorite thing about that is it's all the conspiracy theorists who just hoped and prayed for decades that finally disclosure would happen. The moment disclosure happened, said this is a false flag.
Yeah, right.
So so the government, maybe in a genius move, said, guys, even if we tell them, those same people are going to say we're full of shit. Like they're going to be like, no, why would all the people are saying they should tell us? When we tell them, they'll say they
Nah, you're
told
not
us
saying the
they
truth.
told us for a reason. What are they up to?
It's like you can't win.
Until
So
they're on the lawn at the White House, like I said.
right, right. Interesting.
So, all right, Vince. Let's say we fast forward 2 months. First of all, one thing I've had a hard time nailing down in the TikTok sphere.
Oh boy. I don't do the TikTok.
You get the same reports, the same ones we've all seen of the local news stations and everything. But what I haven't been able to nail down is everyone's still doing general reporting about the drones. But what I've been looking for is like, hey, were there drones today? All these reports are from 2 days ago or day. Like right now in New Jersey, I wish I knew someone. Now, Vince, you might know people in New Jersey. I have an interesting story, and how about we end on this because I think you'll find this fascinating, Vince.
Before you tell your story, I do have relatives that still live in New Jersey,
Mhm.
and specifically within one of the counties that has had some sightings. So
Mhm.
yes, I do.
So our graphics were done by one Dagan Moriarty, who lives, Vince, just outside New Jersey. Takes the train to Philly. Now, he is the most level-headed, non-conspiracy. Like they have actually done shows where like they have a show called Constellation where they each bring a topic, random topic of discussion, and it doesn't have to be about games or anything. And one time they did a show about conspiracy, and he was like, until I see it, I'm just not one of those guys. I'm just not. That's not my. You gotta show it to me, right? So he's never been like the theorist one. Vince, yesterday he tweeted out, "Oh, I've seen the stories, guys. I know a lot of you have been asking because you know I live here." And I thought, okay, yeah, how much of this is real nonsense or whatever? He's like, last night for 5 minutes, one of these very large drones was directly over our neighborhood. I have pictures, and now every day I'm having to tell my wife, like, don't panic, like, and now I'm saying, what the hell? Why aren't they telling us? Whereas before, I'm like, okay, this seems like a lot of nonsense. So someone we have worked with had one directly over his neighborhood at low altitude, very large, he said. So it feels different when there's someone that you know is not a BS artist.
Absolutely. And the thing of it is, Ryan, is that the drones are real.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we're in Florida and we're just seeing all the tweets and the videos and everything, it's not that the drones aren't real. The drones are real.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, whose are they? Where are they coming from? And what are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
So, I, for someone to tell me, yes, I saw a drone, even if it was me or a relative of mine that lives up there, if they said, yeah, I saw one, that wouldn't shock me at all because I know it's happening.
The interesting thing is the government goes up on a public conference and says most of the reports have been just normal manned aircraft, and you're like, that's nonsense.
Well, I mean, maybe early on, that's what they thought. And I think some of them are being misidentified for sure because people are looking for any reason to be part of the phenomenon.
But ones that just stand still or move very slowly, and not like planes. We all know what planes look like in the air, even at night.
Right.
They go pretty fast. They at a decent rate of speed.
They don't hover, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
and they don't generally have similar shape of this, say, large half oval kind of with like some. It's almost it reminds me of the probe droid from Empire Strikes Back, like floating around. But Vince, a month from now, what I think this will end up being, unfortunately, is that they just go the drones just stop being around and we never find out. Because if it was simply a response to a potential threat, even if it was like heck, maybe they got intel, like maybe they got an official threat from one of these nation states that it's like, guess what we did? We were able to sneak it in. And maybe it was all nonsense, but they had to make sure. I think this will end with just the drones one day they're not in the air anymore and we don't ever find out why.
Yeah, that would be it'd be a bit of a bummer
Hmm.
that you wouldn't find out. Um, but taking it all the way back to the beginning, when you're trying to decide within your own brain whether the drones belong to the U.S. or not, we have this amazing technology, whatever it is these drones are doing, and we have a lot of them, and they are scattered everywhere.
Hmm.
Another reason why I don't think that you would quote unquote test them, because why give up what you have to adversarial nations?
Capability wise, at a low
You
altitude.
don't have to.
Yeah.
There's a reason why these drones are out there. And they're not just, in my opinion, they're not just testing them. They have a purpose, and otherwise
An important purpose.
they would not unveil that capability of jamming signals and going dark. You know what I'm saying? Like you and 6-7 hour flight times. Like you wouldn't give that information up.
So how do you think it ends, Vince?
I mean, the most likely ending is what you're saying. Um, eh, eh, and I would hope for that more than I would hope for they're actually them finding, you know, some kind of catastrophic device within
Mhm.
the country.
I hope the middle ground, my middle ground, Vince, is they just go away, and then, and I don't think it would be him because I don't think it. It's interesting with how full of nonsense Trump is with a lot of things. He doesn't care at all about like aliens or you. Like people have asked him, he's like, it's just not my thing. But for one, there's two people, Vince, that will be in his cabinet that have been on Rogan that have openly engaged, and I want to know what these are. So Tulsi Gabbard, former Hawaiian senator, I want to say, has said that she's very interested and would like disclosure on UFOs. And I forget the other. There's one other person that he named. I don't remember. He's not a big name, but mainly Tulsi Gabbard. So I hope that they just go away, nothing happens, but that in a transition of power for a popularity play. Here's the interesting part of it. Boy, does Trump love attention. Love him or hate him. He loves a good show.
He loves to be the center of attention, and
How, yeah.
if he were to be the one,
hmm
that would stroke the ego for sure.
If he would love nothing more than come out and be like, on his Twitter, he would do it on Twitter or True Social. He would he'd be like, I've just been briefed. I've just been briefed by Tulsi Gabbard, a wonderful former senator, now part of my wonderful cabinet. They're real. The aliens are here, or Iran is in our airspace. Like he would love to be the one to, just for attention, not for any other gain, to be like, guess what? You're welcome, guys. All that thing that you guys were wondering about, I'm such a great guy. I I told you I would be this open guy, you know, ignoring all the other nonsense that. But he would love to be. So I think that there is a chance that due to a uh, they're going for what they're pitching, whether you think it's complete BS or if you believe it wholeheartedly. And I have family on both sides of this. Okay, I'm sure you do too, Vince. The pitch from the new administration is we're bucking the system. We're getting rid of the deep state. We're cleaning house. We want to be transparent on everything, right? Which is like what every administration of all time has ever said. But wouldn't it be funny if nothing more, that Trump was the one to tell us that either like this was happening with the drones or aliens or JFK. Like, give me something as a conspiracy theorist person who enjoys it. Give me a nugget to eat. That's all I'm asking for, Donald. That and a Diet Coke. I know you got the button. Hit the button. Speaking of hitting the button, everyone, thank you for being a member and hitting the like button, subscribe button for Garnet and Old each and every week. If you're seeing this the week of Christmas, you're not yet a member, but you can become one because this got a week early for those that were members. And this was fun, Vince.
Yeah, we just start our own conspiracy show.
It would be fun if, what would we call it? What would we call it? There's got to be an FSU pun
Yeah, yeah.
that it's like maybe once a month we do like a conspiracy show and we go over any conspiracies that are happening right then, whether in jest or for fun or serious stuff.
Ooh, conspiracies.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. And we can wear, like, we should really do it up, like have like tinfoil hat, make tinfoil hats while we do the show. That'd be hysterical.
Yeah,
That's a good idea. Maybe once every few months,
ways,
maybe not once a month, maybe just like a certain number of times a year.
especially in the off season.
Yeah, conspiracy knolls.
Um, Fear the conspiracy.
Yeah, that's a good one. I
This
like
is
it.
fun, Ryan. We're planning on doing a show on Thursday. Yes,
Of course, yeah.
of course, man. That's what we do.
Sweet, sweet man.
Sweet man.
Well, guys, thank you again. This has been one of my favorite shows, just because I don't get a lot of, you don't get to talk this like random stuff all the time with people. I have like two people in my life that I do it with. One of them's like a person I see occasionally, and then one other person is like a family member, but they're a little too much. The one of those that
Be
they're,
careful with some. Yeah, you got to be careful with some people.
yeah, they'll take it. and run with it. But thanks for listening. Thanks for being a member. Hey, we'll see you next time, and keep looking up at the skies. I want to believe. Go Knowles, everyone.
Go Knowles.